Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pretty Badass Podcast. Today, I cannot believe that this is happening. It has been over 2 years in the making. Please let me introduce you to Kerry Schwartz.
Don't matter the wave I'm riding. Tell me, have you decided? 'Cause either way I'm vibing. Either way,
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my God, finally. First of all, I'm like honored to be here because can I curse on here? Because I
You
fucking
can.
love her.
You can.
I'm very excited to have a conversation with you. I feel like it's Survivor meets Survivor. Like when two survivors are in a room together, beautiful things happen.
That's a good way to look at it.
Even though we've never met before. It's just that's why I connected with you in the first place.
So I wasn't sure how to introduce you because you are kind of a Jill of all trades as well.
Yeah.
So the reason why we connected and I guess we resonated with one another was over mental health.
Yes.
You wrote an incredible book, a series of unfortunate men.
Yes.
Must read.
Thank you.
But I thought back and I was like, when did we meet? Because we actually haven't met in person. This is
No.
the first time that we're meeting, which is crazy to me.
So wild.
But
I feel like I
looked-
know you so well.
I looked back and you wrote me in August of 2020. And it was responding to me being very vulnerable and probably crying over my narcissist ex-boyfriend online.
You weren't in a good space at
No.
the time.
And so I wasn't holding back. I'm a little more private now. But I, at the time, was, I guess I was going through a lot more. And so since then I've healed, but I wanted to be very authentic and start sharing things with people, and just as you did. And so your book to me, that it really makes me feel like that I held back because you didn't hold back. Or do you feel like you held back?
I didn't hold back at all. I think that was one of the main things. We can meet people and we show people one version of ourselves, or you can meet someone and not know what they have been through or what battle they're suffering from. But I decided when I was going to write this book, I was going to reveal all the versions of myself, the ones that I was not proud of, the ones that I have been ashamed of for so many years that held me back from doing the work that was necessary. And my skeletons are out in this book.
Well, I think it's beautiful that you shared that.
Thank you.
Because yours, to me, it seems it's talking about your history and where you started, but it talks a lot about relationships. And so I feel like yours is like maybe the relationship version of my book. And so I really like that part because you gave a lot of advice on how to pick up on the red flags and things. Mine was more just like sharing all these things that happen. But I don't think that you know this, but we have so much in common. Like you're the New Jersey version of me. I'm not kidding.
I love it.
I'm not kidding. I'm gonna blow your mind when
so
I tell you
excited.
these things that we have in common.
Oh my God. Okay.
First, before we get into the book, I will say you originally made a name for yourself in reality TV, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot, you've experienced the highs and the lows, and we'll definitely get to all of that. But in your book, you started with your relationship with your father.
Yes.
And
I had to.
So I think that, you and I, that is something that I have in common with you. And it's the
That's one of the
estranged,
first things I resonated with in your book. Yeah.
well, so it's something that I definitely struggled with and took with me for decades. And so I'm curious, are you still working on that relationship? And
Yes, every day.
every day.
I think I mean, obviously our parents, but our fathers in general, especially for females, start the foundation for not only our life, but for the men that we aspire to be with.
Yeah.
So my foundation was not a good representation and caused a lot of insecurities and abandonment issues and rejection issues and all of the above. So when, interestingly enough, when I wrote my book, because the first chapter is all about my father and it may not be in the best light for my dad, I reached out to him and I said, listen, out of respect for you, because if there is some hope for a better relationship for us in the future, I want you to read this and know what I'm writing before I put it out into the world. And I think because I did that, I was able to find out a lot more about my father from his side, opposed to just my mother's version, which was helpful, but also still pretty disappointing. So with that said, we have been working on our relationship since the book came out. He surprisingly was comforting when he read the chapter. You know, there were a lot of things where he was like, I'm so sorry you feel this way. I said, I'm not changing anything about the way I feel. But if there is a fact that I'm talking about that you feel like maybe isn't fair or that I worded wrong, I will go ahead and change that. So
Well, that was nice of you to do.
he handled it very well, though, too. Like, my chapter is very descriptive of my father and the feelings that I felt. So the fact that he was even like, I'm still going to have a relationship with you after this book was very big on his part. So we're definitely working towards a better relationship now. But, you know, I still have major daddy issues. I do.
I think that towards the end, because there's different things that I want to talk to you about regarding that and maybe even contributing to helping you have a better relationship with him. I had similar experiences with the book, and I was more vague with things that I wrote about my family. I did share with people prior to writing. I didn't really share with him so much because like I said, I did kind of keep the information minimal, but after.
Yes, which I respect that as well,
Well,
of course.
I mean,
It's family.
yeah, but I mean, there's different things. It's like, I admire how you handled it. I played it safe in a lot of ways with even
That's okay.
relationships. And
That's
I mean,
okay. You have to
it's
share
a
what you
proce-
feel
it was a
comfortable
process.
with.
Yeah.
This is going out into the entire fucking world.
it's true.
You know, so it's okay to hold back.
So
You don't have to give it all away.
My dad actually did get really mad about the book.
Okay.
And so, but I think it was more because I was like, did you even read the book? And I think it was other people's opinion and thought, you know, they were
Great
like,
question. Did you read the book? Did
Yeah,
you read it for
yeah.
yourself?
So I'm like,
Yeah.
did you just read the back of the book or like what happened
Or what I
with this?
actually said. Yeah.
But I have actually healed my relationship with my dad. It is,
That makes me so happy.
I never
Truly.
would've-
Yeah.
Thank you. Because, and I know that that is big because for me, I thought that I would hold on to that pain for my entire life. And so,
That's a tough
I
one.
can text him right now. He texts me every now and then. He's like, "Oh, I love you. I miss you." He watched my podcasts and he's like, he sent me the most beautiful message. And, you know, he's like,
Wow.
"I'm so proud of you. Like, you're doing great things." And like, but it took a lot of acceptance. And I'll talk a lot about
sure.
that later
Yeah.
of how I got to that point. Something else that you touched on, that your relationship with your father and lack of support, I guess, in the foundation led you to insecurities.
Yeah.
And I can really, I mean, you lost your virginity at 14.
14. Yeah.
So did I.
Oh my God.
And
Really?
it was a very similar kind of situation. And so for me, my relationship really turned at 14 where I just wanted to be loved so badly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I felt that when I read your book. I was like, oh, like all these things. I went from being like this really, really shy girl that wouldn't cuss. In fact, I was made fun of because I wouldn't kiss a boy, and just really innocent, to a boy that I liked in school just kept saying like, well, I don't want to be the first, and like, you're a virgin, like you're a straight girl. Back then it was called you're a straight girl.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, you know,
Yes.
and I just went ahead and like, I met some, I think he was like 21, 22. Yeah. So
Mine was 19,
yeah,
20,
and
19,
it's
20,
like
yeah.
it hit when I was reading your book, and I thought, wow, like such similar, like I have chills. It's just looking back now and wanting to like hug little Kerry and like
Oh my
wishing
God.
that like, because I just
Yeah.
felt that desperation in you, and then watching it, I felt like I was watching it while I was reading, and because you tell your story so well, and it's vividly just expressed in every single way. Like, I'm like, it makes me so proud of you that you opened up like you did. But it was
you.
like I was watching it happen and moving into then body dysmorphia, and just, I guess the reality is you just didn't feel like you were enough.
That is the exact word that I always use. Is, I mean, all of these issues and trauma came from never feeling like I was enough, and it all stems back to me never feeling enough for my father. And unfortunately, that stayed with me for way too long in my life, up until just a few years ago. Yeah.
You feel like you're past it now?
I feel like I can honestly say only up until maybe a year ago, I can proudly say, yes, now I feel like I am enough. But it took me, I'm 37 years, it took me all the way until I was 37 years old to truly say that. I would tell people I'm enough and I'm this and I'm that and I love myself. I did not fucking love myself, you know, and I still struggle with those issues. I'm not going to lie, but I am, I know my worth now.
See, I feel
I know
so
my message.
I'm
Yeah.
40, so I think that you're just a little bit further behind in some things. I think you're ahead in other things, but I get that, like not feeling like enough, and there were certain things that I had to put into place to get to this point in my life.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a lot of doing a lot of damage, like the self-respect, the things, you know, and I want you to share the things that, you know, that you're most proud of, but also, and I'd love for you to share with the audience, and they can read about it too, but things that embarrassed you or that you're ashamed of, because there's things that maybe I haven't shared fully. And I really,
Those are the most important things.
I know. And so you sharing your stories and really just opening up and saying, this is me, you know, even your TikToks, like you're getting recognition on your TikToks for just, I mean, you're laying it all out.
It's raw. It's very raw and real. Yeah, it's talking. Yeah, again, it's most of the things that I have been ashamed of most of my life, and I think putting that out in public, it resonates with more people than you would think, because we all hold our secrets and our skeletons and things that we're ashamed of, or things that we've done that we would never tell anybody. And I'm just like, well, let me be the advocate to put it out there so that you feel more comfortable. And if you don't want to share it, that's okay. But at least you know you're not alone.
Yeah. I think maybe I'm still hiding some of my secrets in this pretty little box, because, and maybe there's a reason why there's a version of you and a version of me, because I do have a corporate life.
Right.
So that is very interesting for me to balance. I have a corporate life. There's an expectation there.
Absolutely.
But then
Yeah.
I have this other side.
I'm like, totally get that.
I really
Yes.
don't even know. Sometimes people will ask me, like, even like, what do you do? And I'm all like,
Everything. I'm multifaceted.
I'm like, if you look at my Instagram, like where it gives all the things, it's like,
Yeah, you're
like,
multifaceted.
I'm
That's
like,
all.
so maybe that's why I hold back some of those stories. And then also, I don't know if, some of my stories involve people, like even family members, extended family members, where
Okay.
I don't know if I'm ready or if it's necessary to open that up because I've already done the healing. So for
Okay.
me, it was okay. So I don't need, I feel validated enough within myself, and I don't feel like I need to destroy someone else in order to,
Yeah.
push through these things. Now,
I think that's a
had
responsible
I,
choice, though.
yeah, if in therapy I was like, oh, well, I'm still battling this, then yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very responsible choice. I mean, the thing is, it's not because we're a mental health advocate, right? Because we advocate these things that we are proud of that we survived. It does not mean that we have to share every bit in detail of how we got to where we are today. I think there are valuable lessons that we can share, and I think that there's lessons that we can keep to ourselves, and that's enough. So I think that's okay.
I think you said it perfectly. I, it's our story, and
Yeah.
we can tell as much of it or as little of it as possible.
Yes.
It makes sense for us.
Exactly.
And so sometimes you're sharing a little bit more than me.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
like it. It actually makes me want to. I was like, maybe Carrie's going to pull some stuff out of me today that.
I mean, if I did, that would be great, because I think if you and I were having coffee and you express things to me, I think that would be a safer space opposed to sharing it with the entire world. And I completely respect that. I really, really do.
As much as I tried to make this have that same feeling of like, oh, look, there's no cameras here. It's still, there's a bit, I'm going to be guarded. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. And so we'll keep getting to stuff. Well, all right. So we touched on that losing our virginity at 14,
Which is really young.
really young,
When you look back, my God.
especially with
Did you
men
feel like
that
you
were
grew
so.
up quickly, though, because of your relationship with your father?
I did. I'm the oldest of four, so
Okay.
I always kind of had that mentality.
Okay.
Even though I was so innocent and naive to a lot of things, I had an adult outlook on life. And so, but I was definitely, even though I was an adult in my mind, I certainly didn't know what I was doing.
Of course.
And clearly it shows in the partners that we have chosen
Sure did.
throughout
Yeah,
our
sure did.
dating lives.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to talk about maybe your favorite
Oh, God.
or least favorite?
Least favorite?
Maybe, because you have a lot of really great stories. I mean, sad,
Yeah.
traumatic, horrible,
Yes.
but like
Yeah.
we're talking, mobs, kidnapped,
Yeah. I mean,
Word.
criminals.
Criminals. but they all
scam
have
artists, yeah.
something in common. Yeah, that they were misleading to you.
Yes.
And that you saw something in them that I guess, like, at one point you talked about excitement. I had that too, like, really one of my first boyfriends, like the Johnny situation.
Okay.
I had that where I knew that they were bad. They were a little bit older than me, and it just made me, I think it's maybe knowing that they like you so much or that they chose you.
That's a good way of putting it, that you were chosen, actually. I was not only didn't have my father in my life, but I was, I was an ugly duckling for a very long time. And this isn't an original story. There's so many people who grew up being bullied and things like that, right? But it does affect you tremendously. So I think between the two of those, and then when I finally started to blossom and, quote unquote, look beautiful in the beholder of these men, I think just it was almost like anything that would give me attention at this point would be like, I'm taking it, right? And Johnny, which was my first 5-year relationship, this was somebody that wouldn't look twice at me when I was younger, but we lived in the same neighborhood. And then eventually one day it was like, this guy wants me to be his girl. That's why I stayed with him for so long.
Yeah.
it was that thought alone. When I think about it now as an adult, I was like, I was staying with him because of who he was, and I earned him because I was so ugly and not wanted. And then
And
all
then
of a
now you're
sudden,
not ugly, so now
yeah,
you deserve to have
yeah,
the cool
yeah.
guy, the one that
Yeah.
everybody wants.
And it goes back to what you said before, it's just like feeling like enough. So every single one of these men, as toxic as they were, whether they were a psychopath, a narcissist, a sociopath, whatever it was enough for me that they loved me and that they were giving me affection, you know? So
Did you know what a narcissist was back then?
No.
When did you learn what a narcissist was?
I only learned what a narcissist was probably truly like 3 years ago. And when I really started to go to therapy and learn about personality disorders and things in that nature and why people do what they do, what they can and cannot control, what is right, what is wrong. Because I, to this day, and this makes me so sad, like I have no fucking clue what a good man is, what it looks like, what it feels like. I just don't know because I've never experienced it before.
It's interesting that you said that because I did want to ask you that. I didn't learn what a narcissist was until about a year ago, despite being in a relationship with one which
It's tricky.
because they call you. I used to associate it with just having a big ego or being vain, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, those are
And-
signs, but yeah.
And then the coming off of the narcissist, like I still am. It's been 6 months and
That is recovery.
it's recovery.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like you just don't know unless you've experienced it. And I even looking back, I think of stories and situations where I'm like, how did that even happen? Like,
Yeah.
situations where I was in this relationship where, even like promise rings or engagements and things, we were together for 5.5 years, that even situations where, he would say, well, I was going to propose to you, but you weren't good. You don't deserve it. And I would be crying.
God, I'm
Like literally crying on my hands and knees, like begging, like, I am good. Like as if this is like
Oh
a
my
relationship
God.
with a child and a father saying like, but I was good. Like,
Oh my
please
God,
just
yeah.
give me, why can't I have that? And like, it makes me like,
the power over you.
oh, the power was, I was nothing without this person. That's where the book came from. I didn't want to live anymore. I thought I could not live without this person. So,
And they make you believe that too.
and they do make you believe that.
Yeah, they
So
poison you.
it's, literally this person destroyed me and I got to, and I actually want to talk to you about this because I know that yours were more exposed, that I really changed a lot during specifically this last relationship where I became angry and violent and I'm so ashamed of what happened to me and not a lot of people know, but the ones that do know, I'm petrified at them going around and telling the stories because things happened where I just blacked out, couldn't control myself. And, my therapist, luckily, it was like, they just got you to a point where you snapped. And, this is normal. But I still have a hard time, even saying to myself, like, is that normal? Is that okay, though? Like, am I this crazed person? Luckily, as time has gone by, I feel more like myself again. But you had situations where it was captured on TV.
Yeah.
And
First of all, I just want to say, give yourself some grace with those things because our subconscious, because it is storing so much trauma and all of these things that we don't think about on the daily basis, like it's still all in there. And when you get a trigger, if it's a snap, then it's a snap. If you react
Yeah.
a certain way, it is what it is. As long, when you go back to it later and you really think about it and understand what happened, okay. But for me, like I'm never ashamed of reactions anymore because of all the trauma that I've experienced. Sometimes you don't know how you're going to react. So give yourself some grace with that and don't be so hard on yourself.
I think what happened and why I beat myself up about it so badly is that I had done all the work. You know, I already had written the book, Pretty Depressed, that I was pretty happy, and then I was healthy. So I'm now going along in this new life, this new version of me, and I'm thinking I'm supposed to maintain that. Now, people can push you.
Absolutely.
Walking
Yeah.
into your home with, finding someone there in your home, and you kind of lose your shit. So
Normal to lose your shit, by the way. I don't care how healed you are and how much work you've done. If I'm
Yeah.
put in a predicament like that, I'm going to fucking react.
yeah, and someone literally telling you that what you're seeing is not actually there at the
Right.
moment. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like you've gaslit me our entire relationship, but I'm literally
No,
seeing
Autumn.
this person.
No.
I mean,
And I'm from
just-
Brooklyn. Like
just
I
craziness.
have my moments
I'm
where
from Florida.
Yeah, okay.
We're not much.
Brooklyn, Florida, a little trashy.
I always joke with people.
Little
I'm like,
trash, a little
I'm like,
class.
oh, that's the Florida in me coming out. I'm like, so sorry. Like, I'm a little ghetto. I'm a little country. I was born in Fort Lauderdale. I have the little Latin side to me. Like, it's just, I dated a Latin guy one time, and I remember him saying, "Are you sure you don't have a Latin bone in your body?" And I was like, "I do, and it's my spine."
I fucking love it. Let me ask you something though. Would you be more proud if you just sat there and took it and didn't
No.
say anything?
No, but
or
I
would you
did-
be more proud that you reacted, even if it wasn't the way that you imagined, but you stood up for yourself?
So I 100% am glad that I stood up for myself. So, I mean, that's a good question. I definitely think that few things I might have changed. Few things. He definitely deserved what happened. And
Okay.
yeah. So,
All
but that's okay. So how are you dealing with, it's like for me, like only a certain amount of people know about what I did.
Yeah.
And for you, those moments that you're embarrassed about, like how, I guess you are still getting over those, or have you put those past, you put those in the past?
I think the things that I share in my book and that I share on social media, I have moved on from. There's new things that I'm working on now, but I think those things in my past I have officially moved on from and can now share with the world with pride instead of like sticking them in a corner and hiding them. It's very liberating.
It
It's
is.
so liberating
It
just
is.
to speak it and say it, and you have nothing to hide. But it's also, for example, since I do share so much in my book, right? So now I am opening myself back up to dating and looking for this healthy, good relationship that I still think is an unsolved mystery in my head. But part of me is always like, am I going to find a guy that is okay with how much that I shared in my book? Are they going to be okay with my past and the fact that I have talked about some really, really deep stuff in there? Are they going to be proud of it too? Are they going to be proud?
You think
to
they're going to
say-
be afraid that you're going to put them in the book?
Those are the two things I get the most, right? So a guy immediately finds out I wrote a book called Series of Unfortunate Men. Right away, the male ego goes, oh, it's a book bashing men. Meanwhile, it's about my life and
It's
what I've survived
experiences that
through the
other
men
people-
that I've
yeah.
experienced. All the lessons I've learned through the men that I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced, and it's me taking complete accountability for my actions and realizing that I was the villain in my own fucked up love
Mm-hmm.
story for the most part. But when they see the title, they do get taken aback,
Mm-hmm.
and the first question is like, or the first reaction is like, oh God, like what is this book about? And it makes me feel some type of way. But then you also get the guys that are like, I don't ever want to read that book. I don't want to know what's in it. Like, I just don't want to know. Don't tell me anything. And then, there's a guy that'll be like, I want to read your book,
Mm-hmm.
but then it makes me scared. I'm like, do I let them read the book? I'm like,
those
all right,
are
you
the
got to go on
ones-
6 dates with me first and get to know this version of myself, and then you can read the book and know my past versions.
So the guys that have read your book and had that reaction, do you feel like those guys are more in line with what you're looking for? And, just because when I was reading your book, there were parts of me that I definitely connected with and thought, oh, what if there isn't that good guy out there? Like my ex, my most recent ex, he was the first person that accepted me as like all of my past, but also he accepted, he loved the fact that I was in Playboy before.
Okay.
And wasn't ashamed of it, because I got a lot of shame from exes.
I'm sure you
people's
did.
parents and
Insecurities.
just lots of.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurt me so bad doing that and making that choice in my life. And even though I was proud of myself, but also did it because I felt so ugly and unattractive at that point in my life,
Wow,
which is
okay.
crazy to me.
Right.
Because I was probably 10, 15 pounds lighter than I am now. I was looking for validation, and I really was so insecure, and I did it because I thought, well, if they're going to say I'm beautiful, then I must be. But obviously, that doesn't solve your problems. You think it will.
We know that now.
Yeah, hindsight, and I was 25 then. And by
Such
the
a
way,
baby.
but not, what's so crazy to me is I was 25 years old, and I was like, I'm so old, and I was so embarrassed because I was the old one. And then even everyone was saying like, oh, you might be a little bit too, you're a little too old to be a playmate because you're
Insane.
25.
Yeah.
And looking back now at 40, I'm like, oh my God,
So
like
insane.
you didn't know anything. You were a baby.
Such a baby.
But so that is why, and it's interesting that same mentality from when you were 14 and I was 14,
Yeah.
that this person, when I was 34 years old, he said, oh, I think this is great that you were in Playboy, and I'm not afraid. This is interesting.
Okay.
I haven't said this out loud, but that in the beginning of our relationship, because of my mental health, I thought at some point, if someone breaks my heart, I will probably kill myself. Like, I just knew that it was going to happen. And my aunt committed suicide over
Sorry.
a guy, and she was a Cancer. And so I just felt like that was sort of my destiny, that was going to happen.
Oh
because
my God.
I felt so empty and lifeless when someone would abandon me. And so I would go into this fetal position. I was just a little child being left by her father. It was like, it just simulated that for me. So I told my ex this, and not knowing that he was a narcissist and that he was gathering up all this information, he was so kind to me and was like, I'm not afraid of this part of you. And was like, so for the first time in my life, I felt accepted with all of my deepest, darkest secrets.
Wow.
And then that is where all of that began, and how
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now it makes perfect sense. But at the time I thought, well, this person is so kind and they're accepting me.
supportive,
Yeah, they're
right.
supportive of me, and they're not afraid that, something like this could happen. But so I'm interested to see that as, because I'm starting to date again. And
Okay.
although things are not moving forward in, in a long-term way, I did date someone, and he actually, my therapist recommended that I start dating. And I was like, oh, I don't want to date. Like, this is too soon. He wanted me to get onto apps and stuff. And I was like, no, that's not
Such a
happening
battle with
for
that.
me.
Yeah.
And I ended up meeting this guy through some friends, and he was really nice. And it just didn't work out because of what's interesting is that I think he has similar issues of, which he's sorry. He said, don't talk about me on the podcast. Okay, but no, it's more endearing that we bonded over speaking about mental health, and we talked about, just life in general. And I feel like he is in a stage that I was in at one point in my life where I think he's searching for himself. So this, even though it didn't work out, nothing traumatic happened. He was a good, kind person. I felt that there was longevity there. And although it ended, it didn't make me feel abandoned. It was the healthiest.
That's huge.
Yeah. Like,
that's huge.
The healthiest breakup that I have.
That's great.
had.
I know it's a breakup, but that's great.
Yeah.
That's not a bad experience.
No, this was the first time.
That's great.
And so I had a good example of what a good man is and what could be. And so I built some confidence in myself by allowing this person into my life.
Right.
And then it not becoming what everybody else was.
Yes. And you not putting yourself down because it ended.
Yeah.
Right? You
and
feel okay.
And I recognized that, it was like, there were some moments where it triggered for a moment. And then I was like, I kind of caught myself. I was like, these are just old patterns that you're getting into, still trying to slough off that toxic behavior.
That's right.
So I will say that I'm hopeful. Like, I wasn't before. I really thought there's, reading your book and like even reading some or watching some of your TikToks and stuff is like, where are the good guys? Like, I haven't found that yet, where it's like the love of my life that I'm going to end up with. But I'm really excited. And I want you to get excited.
That makes me so happy that you feel that way. And I think that's all it takes is, and I have had good men in my life that were my friends. So yes, I do know that it exists, and it's such, it's so hard sometimes when you have good guy friends around and there's just no attraction there. Like it might be on their end, but like it just doesn't. I'm like, why can't I be attracted to my best friend? Why can't it work that way? But it's just not that easy. But I'm so happy you got to experience that because I feel like it's imperative to like move forward and attract better things.
Yes. And
just knowing
that's
that
the thing
exists.
is attracting. It's really starting to believe that it's out there. And then, I'm also doing what you're doing right now. I am loving myself right now. I am dating myself. Yes.
Yeah.
And you do, but you actually like date yourself, which I love so much that I see you're like, yep.
1 day a week I take myself out.
Oh, so 1 day a week.
1 day a week.
I'm always like trying to jump in on your date. I'm like, hey, you should have called me. You're like, no,
that's
Autumn.
The point, Autumn. No,
Autumn, I'm doing this on my own.
No, it's I make it a point to do like one self date a week.
It's amazing.
And it doesn't have to be, listen, I love going out to, one of my favorite things to do is going to like a crowded restaurant and eating by myself because it's liberating and I feel confident and strong and I just get to treat myself. But then there's also days where I will go for a really nice walk by myself.
Okay, so it can be big or small.
Yeah, they can be big or small as long as.
I take myself on vacations.
You
did a vacation. Okay, so... Yes, that was another thing that we really, vibed on is that you went to Italy.
Yes.
My place is always France, and
I haven't been there yet.
So we'll have to maybe actually share each other's travel dates or something and be tour guides. But it looked like you had such an amazing time on your trip, and it looked like you got a lot of healing done there.
I would say majority of my healing from the last year took place in Italy. I came back kind of a different human. It just changes your perspective on everything. And I got to spend a lot of time alone. And
did you meet anyone when you were there?
I met, you know what? It's like when you go to, it's my first time going to Italy. I had like this expectation of like meeting some guy and I was just going to have like hot sex and have an eat, pray, love moment. But like my eat, pray, love moment was actually with myself for that trip. I'm not going to lie. I had like a makeout session one night. It was like my last night in Sicily and it was cute. Had a little makeout sesh, but that was really it. I was so, and again, it goes back to like, why do I have this expectation of hooking up and like finding the love of my life in Italy? I'm going to Italy to find myself, not to find love.
That's
so
okay, because we're dreamers and we're lovers.
we are dreamers,
And
and
I
we're
think that
lovers.
that's important, is really, really honing in on that and not losing that side of ourselves.
Absolutely. But I also didn't want to revolve my, I feel like Kerry a few years ago would have left Italy and be like, damn, like I didn't get that experience that I wanted. Meanwhile, I'm like, I just needed the experience with myself. Like that
No,
was it.
It's
you know?
balance.
It is balance.
I'm so proud of you for doing that and acknowledging that. It's like, because a lot of times when you are seeking out love and love is your priority in life, everything revolves around love, finding love,
Everything.
person, everything. Like,
It's really
makes you
everything.
do crazy things.
It
It's
does
like-
make you do crazy things.
It makes you sacrifice even things that you're working on, things that you're
Oh my
passionate
God,
about.
it really does. It fucks you up.
Yeah. So that's why, like, I'm really happy to be single right now, and I'm doing all the things.
Yes.
And you're
Yes.
doing all the
Yes.
things. So you wrote your book. Do you are you writing anything else right now?
I'm writing part 2 of this
Okay.
book, but
Same. But it's like,
yay!
But I'm like, it's just developing. So I'm like, I don't really
it's okay
know.
though. Yeah,
This is-
this one, my first book, that came out of my mental health crisis. That wasn't planned.
Yeah, okay.
This one I'm excited about, but there's no, like, I finished writing that in 6 months, maybe less. This is going to be, I'm taking my time with this. It's probably going to take another year to finish it, but I am working towards that. And I just wrote a pilot script for a series of Unfortunate Men. So
I love it.
I'm focusing on that right
I'm
now.
excited
Super
about
excited.
this.
Yeah.
So it's like people, and I'm sure it's like people will read your book and say, you need to turn this into a movie.
Oh, yeah,
Because I
immediately.
have the same, but I'm like, but how would I do
Immediately.
this with this one? And for me, it was cathartic that I wrote the book, and I almost just wanted to like put it back on the shelf and just like, she's there, she's done.
Yeah.
I don't like to promote it so much, and that's where Pretty Badass came about, is that I didn't feel pretty depressed anymore. I felt pretty badass, or,
Yes.
at least on my way to feeling pretty badass.
Yes.
But you're going to school. What are you going to school for right now?
Something I never thought that I would do. It's in the medical field, which is bizarre to me that I even got to this place. But
Hello.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like I'm really, really enjoying the process with my book right now. Thankfully, I sell books every day, and that's great. But I can't help but like, I feel like there's just more. There's more. And the entertainment world, just, if I'm being completely honest, like, it sucks. It's ruthless. I've been in the entertainment industry for 17 years, doing TV production, reality TV, all the things. And it's like not good for my soul anymore.
Yeah.
If it's a project that means something to me, I want to be a part of it. Like my TV pilot, my book, like that's something that is special to me. But as cheesy as this sounds, I really love helping people. So
No, it's
whatever
not
I'm
cheesy.
doing, that is my purpose. So whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm working on, it involves helping people. So this is for medical massage, sports massage, traditional massage, just helping people.
Okay.
And something that really helped me a lot also with my mental health was doing a lot of massages and different kinds of acupuncture.
People don't talk about that enough.
Things like that.
Because touch is so important.
Oh my God.
So if you're sitting at home feeling alone, and say you've been isolating for weeks, months, if you go and get a massage, they say that actually can help with your mental health, because it's like you're actually getting touched, and it's just stimulating different things.
Absolutely.
And so
yeah, I'm
that sounds
learning
weird,
a lot about
but-
that. All the
Like
behind the
stimulating.
science behind it. Yeah, but it's true.
No, it is true.
It's true. I mean, we feel better after a massage for a reason. In
Yeah,
every
it's
way,
not
shape,
just
and
like,
form.
oh, my muscles feel better. It's just you've had connection.
Yeah.
And so I think that I'm glad that you're doing that. I feel
Yeah,
like it's
me
in
too.
line with.
It's a nice addition.
Yeah, it's in line. So
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure that we're not missing things. There's so many things that
I know,
I feel
it's-
like. So all right, so you talked about reality TV. Do you have any fond memories of reality TV or no?
Yeah, I think my personal reality TV experience, and in my book, I talk about the pros and the cons and like what to look out for and things like that. I was lucky because I worked in the industry before I was on reality TV, so I knew what the producers were thinking. So for me, it was a really wonderful experience because, you know, it was the dating show I was on was like 15 girls in a house, one guy, bachelor style type of thing on VH1. And, I knew the signs, what to look out for. The producers would come up to me every day and be like, Kerry, we need more from you. Like, you're not getting drunk. You're not sleeping with Frank. You're not fighting with the girls.
You're not giving us the
Like,
drama.
we need more from you.
You're not the drama.
Like, we're going to send you home. And I would just be like, you can totally send me home. Like, I want to, like, have a career after this. And I want to, like, have a life after this, so feel free. But he actually really liked me because I won the show. So
Right, exactly.
But they're devils, those producers. But it was a
Yeah.
really great experience for me. I will never forget it for the rest of my life. And I made some really great friendships on that show as well. But yeah, I would say the negative stuff came after I won the show.
Right.
Because I was so, and again, this all goes back to like being that insecure little girl. All of a sudden, I'm getting all this attention. I'm getting recognized everywhere I go out. This is before like Instagram was a thing.
No, this was like,
This is like
you get
14
caught on
years ago,
TMZ
13
and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
excited. Which, oh my gosh, I saw
my
your
God.
TMZ
Oh my God,
thing,
Lord
like one of
Jesus.
them. It's the spider one, and I don't even want to talk
You
about
can
it.
never unsee
Just
it for the
Google
rest
it.
of your life.
Just, I'm not talking about it on here because it creeps me out. Not doing it involves laying eggs in her leg. Like I can't. Like I have to look at like no, please, no.
I just can't believe. I mean, the things that happen to me. It's all in the book, but yeah,
it's like
it's absurd.
But then you make the mistake. Yeah, Google. No,
Yeah,
like,
Google.
Don't Google.
I mean,
it.
that's another thing too. Is like if you Google my name now, I mean, all different kinds of things come up. All different kinds of things. And I think, it's also like at one point in my life, I was like, God, this is like really fucking embarrassing. Like if I'm dating someone and they find out my full name and they Google me, because everyone Googles each other now. The
Yeah.
second you know someone's full name when you date them, Google. So I mean, there's everything and more in my book. Everything is there. Like nothing to hide. You already know all the things about me. There's nothing you're going to find out that you don't know. It's there. It's on my social media. It's in my book.
Well, you're speaking of like all the things, and that is actually like, I mean, in addition to the book, and all the things that we have in common, but I just feel like you are so badass. I wanted to have you on Pretty Badass because you're all the things. You know,
Thank you.
it's like sometimes
I try.
we get down on the fact that we're not excelling in this or that, but
Oh, yeah.
I think that, and I hope that you acknowledge and that you celebrate the fact that you are all of these things. Like I watch your TikToks, I watch your Instagram. You can sing, you can dance, you can act, you can write, you can, it's like there's so many layers to you.
Thank you.
You're so kind. You're funny. You're a little
Oh my God,
sassy,
Anna.
It's like I
you.
love it because it's, I think that we don't give praise to people that are as well-rounded as you as we should. We often, we glorify people that have one strength and we're like, oh yeah, but they're this or they're that. And so I just wanted to make sure that you knew that I see that, and I think that it's really,
that means a
really
lot to me. It really, really does.
good.
It means a
it's
lot
the
to
truth.
me.
And so I would love to know if you have anything else that you want to share, but most importantly, I need to know why you think that you are pretty badass.
That's a great question.
And don't hold back.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Personally, I think I am the most powerful person that I know. And that is because I feel like I have been 10 different humans in my life. And the only one that I have ever been proud of is the one I am now. And I think when people are able to share their success stories, and I think our success stories are the struggles that we've overcome, I think there is something so special and so powerful about that, and so rare. I think that's pretty fucking badass when you can take your traumas and turn them into trophies. And that is really my message to the world, is that you can be in so much pain, but there is purpose behind every painful situation that we go through, and that there is light, and there is a version of yourself that you can never possibly know and understand or see until you go through some really dark shit. And I like sharing my dark shit with the world so that people can have something to look forward to while they're going through that. And I think the mess is my message. And that
I love
is
that.
what makes me really
the
badass.
Mess is my message. That's
Yeah.
a good one. Well, cheers to being who we are today.
Cheers to being survivors.
Yes.
And to being badass.
Thank you so much for being here today.
It
This
was
has been
an honor.
amazing.
Seriously.
So, thank
Cheers,
you.
baby.
No matter the wave I'm riding, tell me